Good evening and welcome to another edition of Randy's Wellness TV on TorontoTv.org. I'm your host Randy Rowett, and a very special program tonight is in store. Joining me today is Alan Basic. How are you tonight, Alan?
Not too bad, how are you?
Not bad, thank you. Alan Basic is a member of a gifted family of holistic and homeopathic practitioners and scientists. In 1997, he established Eradicator. For 10 years, he has studied geopathic stress, electromagnetic fields, the art of dowsing, electronic acupuncture, vibrational medicine, Vega testing, and radionics diagnosis and treatment. After years of research and development, Mr. Basic formed a technology, and this was formulated, and it decreases the penetrating power of gamma radiation to a normal energy level. He is one of Ontario's leading geomancers, dedicated to identifying subtle energies, or earth radiation, and that is directly affecting our health and well-being. His work involves balancing the energies that are disruptive to our lives. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about your company. How did this get started?
Okay, this got started years ago when I was about 16 years old. I went to Florida, and as soon as I came back from Florida, my immune system was very low, and I started getting very tired, exhausted. After I've been up for maybe 5 hours, it felt like I had to go back into my bed and sleep. I couldn't just sit down. My mom had a machine like this. She's a homeopath, and she can basically test for everything, and she found out that I had geopathic stress. We didn't have an answer, so this bothered my father a lot. So together we started testing different methods and different ways of curing this disorder. And we came up with a zinc and copper formula, specific zinc and copper formula. And so the way I was feeling like I got so depressed and weak and drained, irritable, and it changed my life as soon as we developed this technology. I was like a completely new person. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to find more people that were like me with geopathic stress and try to help them.
Well, you said something interesting, geopathic stress. Now, a lot of our viewers out there may not even know what that term means. What does it mean?
Well, geopathic stress, it's not a disease, it's a condition. What it is, it's a natural form of radiation caused by running water, mineral concentrations, underground cavities, fault lines. It can also be man-made from hydro lines. You know, you ever hear of cancer houses?
Electromagnetic fields.
Electromagnetic fields. So it's when the Earth's natural vibrations are distorted by weak electromagnetic influences, it produces vortexes of radiation, which is geopathic stress. So if somebody has geopathic stress, then their body starts to function at a higher frequency than normal. See, we should all be at the same frequency as Earth and water, which is around 7.5 hertz.
Okay.
The problem is if you have geopathic stress, your body starts to function at 10.5 hertz. So these are foreign frequencies that your cells cannot function properly.
So you may be in contact with these sources, but how do you really get it? How do you really get this electromagnetic pollution?
Electromagnetic pollution you can get just from being on the computer for long hours. This will change your body to 9.3 hertz, but it's not. You're not going to become radioactive. See, the dangers with geopathic stress is that you become radioactive, and so it ends up in your bed, in your shoes. You get geopathic stress from sleeping in it.
I'm glad I'm not going to be radioactive because I spend a lot of time on the computer.
Yeah, well, it can still affect you at 9.3 hertz.
9.3.
9.3.
Yeah. So how is this research on the effects of this stress? How does that really affect the overall health and immune system of the person?
Okay. Well, why don't I just tell you about these doctors from
Sure.
Eastern European countries? Dr. Hans Nieper, MD, stated that 92% of all his cancer patients and 75% of his MS patients lived in a geopathic stress zone. There's an Austrian researcher, Baron von Pohl, said that cancer is almost always caused by Earth radiation, which is geopathic stress. In the 1940s, he proved to the Central Committee for Cancer Research in Berlin that one was unlikely to get cancer unless one spent time in a geopathic stress zone. Dr. Hager, MD, found that geopathic stress was present in over 5,000 cancer cases investigated. So again, what I do, it's also cancer prevention, because if I can guarantee that you don't have cancer, the chances of if I can guarantee that you don't have geopathic stress, then the chance of you getting cancer is slim to none. A German physicist, Robert Endros, and Professor Lotz analyzed 400 deaths due to cancer and revealed that 383 cases were related to living over geopathic stress zones. Dr. Hubank of Vienna also found that it altered electrical and magnetic fields above geopathic stress zones, changed the electrical impulses passing along the nerves of the body, and this resulted in the dysfunction of individual organs and also explained the high number of disease. My favorite researcher would be a German doctor, Ernst Hartmann.
Okay.
He stated that disease was a problem of location, and he wrote this 600-page report on all his findings, which is very interesting.
So these are top-notch professionals dealing with the issue of radiation,
and it's all done in Eastern European countries.
Right. So how does air travel relate to that in terms of radiation? A person travels a lot. Do they get a lot of radiation?
Yeah,
sources?
a lot of my clients are pilots.
Okay.
The problem with pilots, they all have sleep apnea.
Oh.
And this is related to the geopathic stress. Also, truck drivers that sleep in their trucks, they seem to have problems with their sleeping as well.
And what are the physical signs that might be observed by a person who is undergoing, on a victim who has geopathic stress? What would be those signs and symptoms?
If someone is experiencing headaches or problems sleeping, they don't get enough vitamins, minerals absorbed in their body, or trace elements, they'd be lacking all of those. Exhausted, you know, that's a big one. Exhausted, irritable. That would be one of the big ones.
Well, I feel exhausted sometimes. Maybe I'm irritable. I don't know. Maybe I should get tested for this. I don't know.
Everybody should.
Yeah. Now, you said something about houses, and I guess not just houses. Other things that are owned by people. Certain properties. Property may be affected by this type of stress. So I want to just ask you, how can you tell?
If you have trees on your property that won't grow, or you have fruit trees that aren't producing anything, you have a garden and nothing seems to be growing right, bare patches of grass, maybe you have a shrub that has, you know, an area in which it's not growing.
Okay.
You can actually, well, but basically you can find geopathic stress zones with dowsing rods, and I plan on showing you how to make them today.
Okay, we'll do that. So we talked a little bit about housing areas, and I know I've driven on the highway and I've driven past certain areas, newly developed areas, which used to be country road per se, and then they changed to urban. And then you see there's electromagnetic towers, and you think, wow, how does that affect a person? That's quite a serious thing. So it's important for people to really choose, I think, from a health perspective, where they live.
Yes and no. You can always correct the problem. Say you find your dream home and just happens to have a hydro line in the backyard. You can call us. Basically what I would do is, I can't just go to the house to test the property, but if they would send me, say, a hair sample,
okay,
I can analyze the hair and see if they do have geopathic stress, and if they do purchase the house, then I can go there and correct it with, do an eradication.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you said, you mentioned earlier about dowsing rods. Now, this is a detection device?
It's the only way to find vortexes.
Okay, now for our viewers, what is a vortex?
Vortex is a natural form of radiation. It's geopathic stress. It's an actual line that's not visual with your eyes. But what I do is, I make it visual for you. I show my clients exactly where the vortexes are, and the way I do it is, I walk in front of the house from one property line to the other.
Okay.
And I use my dowsing rods, and as soon as the rods cross, I put an orange pylon on the ground. Okay. And I keep going till the end of the property, and then I go 10 feet away from there, and I walk again parallel to the house. Every time the rods cross, I put a cone down, and eventually...
Can we hold that up for...
Yeah, eventually,
sure.
You can basically draw a straight line.
So we have a house here, we have a
Each
straight
cones.
line and some 3 cones at equal spacing.
Yeah, this is actually my house,
Okay.
and we had geopathic stress, but there was just the one vortex. It wasn't passing through any bedrooms, which is good, but I corrected it. So what I did is, this is just to show you where the cones are, and I just put this computer line across just so you can basically understand. So when I'm at your place, I can show you how many vortexes there are and where they are located.
Okay. So how do you make a pair of dowsing rods?
Okay, it's very simple actually.
All right.
You can, everybody knows what these are. They're clothes hangers.
So you can use a pair of household items like clothes hangers.
Clothes hangers
okay.
and the shell of ballpoint pens. So I'll
really?
show you. I have just regular pens. So if you just use the shell of them, so these work as
So just the empty shell, you take out
handles.
Okay.
Yeah. And now you can only make one rod per hanger.
So you're cutting.
So I'll just cut it over here.
Okay. You come to my house, I have thousands of hangers. I put 2 in the closet, I go back a month later, there seems to be hundreds there. You get lots of hangers on
So
my
there's
house.
one
Yes.
almost.
Okay, so you've cut, oh I see, you've cut it a little, right where it joins the angle here. Okay.
Then you have to bend it like a right angle bend.
Yeah.
So if you bend it right angle, there's a start of one.
Oh, I see. Very easy to do in your.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Under 5 minutes and you can do it. Put it inside there.
So you're putting ballpoint pen.
Case.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, if I stand up to use them.
So you're holding onto the pen section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So now the key is if you're going to be dowsing, say, a computer.
So now you're going to test the computer.
Yeah, I'll just show you briefly.
Okay.
These are a professional pair from Germany.
Oh.
Okay. Very expensive.
Yeah.
But there's no sense. If you're not a professional, you don't really need them. So I'll just show you. Say on a computer.
Okay.
If the rods cross and then they stop, it's electromagnetic pollution. If they swing completely around, it's geopathic stress. So if I test this computer, the rods cross, okay?
Okay, so Alan's walking towards the computer and then
Yeah, if you're
he's
walking
testing
towards.
it.
So the
Yeah.
key thing is to keep the rods parallel to your walking surface. Keep it about 8 inches apart, okay? And it's very important also how you're holding them. You don't want to hold them like this. You want to hold them with the tip of your fingers, right?
Okay.
So what you're trying to do as you're holding them is to concentrate on keeping them parallel to each other and also parallel to the ground, okay? It takes a little bit of practice. You won't figure it out right away. But then once you know how to use them.
So the average person can do this at home.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit of practice.
Okay.
But then if you do buy a professional pair, you'll appreciate how sensitive these are.
Now
These are made out of antennas.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
So if I test the computer, as I approach, the rods cross, but then they stop. That's electromagnetic pollution,
Okay.
right?
So that's interesting because there's all kinds of testing methods which you probably have in your field to do this. Not only the dowsing, but what other types of testing methods do you use?
Okay, well, it's not just dowsing. A lot of people aren't too happy with dowsing, and if I test somebody with, say, dowsing rods, and I walk towards them, and the rods cross, and they have electromagnetic pollution, for instance. So if the rods cross like this, it's 9.5 hertz. Okay? If the rods swing completely around, 10.5 hertz, or around 10.3
Which would be a
hertz.
severe case.
Geopathic stress,
Right.
which means that they'd be radioactive.
Wow.
Hmm.
Let's hope nobody has that in their home. Radioactivity like
Yeah,
that.
so
Yeah.
we have other machines, like we have this Vega test machine here,
Okay.
which is
Vega test.
yeah, it's a Vega test. With this machine, we also do full DNA testing.
Really?
So say your viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites, autoimmune disorders, psychological conditions, food allergies. I can test geopathic stress. There's 5 different ampules that will show me, instead of just the rods, or electromagnetic pollution or radioactive stress. I can also test, say, if you're depleted in vitamins, minerals, which ones they are.
Interesting.
And you can buy, say, vitamin A or vitamin B or multivitamin. And there could be 2 different kinds of vitamins. We're all different. I can test on this machine which one will work best on you.
Okay.
So I could take one and I can test it on you and it'll say 40%. And then I can test another one and it'll show 100%.
Very interesting.
Well, then obviously I'll take the one that shows 100% on you. But that one that showed 40% on you could be 100% on somebody else.
So what kind of sample would you take for DNA testing? Like,
Well, I like to work with hair. I can do hair or blood.
I've done that within the confines of within the scope of the professional law enforcement field. I've done DNA and DNA sampling and that type of thing with hair and saliva and collected those samples. But you go a step further and you test them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I can have people from all over the world sending me their hair, and I can do a full testing. Takes
Wow.
about 3 hours. I have about 8,000 ampules. I don't have to test them all. If I find, say, viruses, then I'll go through my trays of viruses. If I find bacteria, I could find out not only what type of bacteria, but where it's located and what it's affecting.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
So you've got some cell phones here.
Yeah, cell phones. It was just to show you again with the rods how they
Okay.
cross, and then I can show you the ELFR eliminators that I use.
Okay. Does it matter if the cell phones are off or on?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because there's a battery. So all batteries emit low frequency radiation,
Okay.
and the problem is also the radio waves once the phones are on and you're using it. Those are dangerous as well.
So we're going to have a test. We're going to actually bring in somebody in a moment. But what kind of products do you sell?
Okay. Well, I have the Lotus Shield.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about the Lotus Shield a little later.
Yeah,
That's
the
a good
Lotus
idea,
Shield,
yeah.
this is what can actually remove the radiation from your body and shield
Okay.
you. It's the protector of foreign frequencies. So if you wear it, you'll always be at the same frequency as earth and water, which you should be, so your immune system is strong
Yes.
and runs at the right frequency.
Let's keep that in mind. Let's remember that because we're going to go back to that.
Sure.
We have a volunteer, and it's Mr. Ping Wang, and he's going to come in here and he's going to help us out. He's going to be tested for geopathic stress. How are you, Ping?
Good.
Nice to see you. Don't be nervous. Be tested for geopathic stress, and Alan, how do
Yeah.
you do that?
Okay, so
Yeah.
first I'd like to just show you with the dowsing rod. So if you could stand up, please. And do you have any batteries on you at all? No batteries? Okay. So again, if I approach you and the rod swing completely around, it's geopathic stress. I've tested him earlier and I found that it was.
Okay.
So I'll just show the audience. So as I approach you, the rod swing completely around.
Wow.
Okay. So if you have a seat here, I'll just show you now on this machine.
Do you feel stressed, Ping? No. Okay. Okay. So you're able to detect the stress, and then maybe you could highlight how you actually correct that with people.
Yeah, well what I'll do is I'll do a demonstration with the Lotus Shield.
Sure.
By holding the Lotus Shield in your hand under 1 minute,
Okay.
it'll bring it back down to normal frequency.
Okay.
Or I could actually just transfer, because I'm wearing the Lotus Shield.
Show the. This
This
is
is-
the Lotus Shield.
this
It's
is
a
the
little
Lotus
medallion. And what's that made out of?
It's a specific zinc and copper formula that's in the gold. It's 14 karat gold,
Okay.
but it's got our formula in it. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll treat you with it afterwards, and I'll show you before and after. I'd also like to show the chair, because this here, you're gonna show that you have radioactive stress, which means you're radioactive, and this is what happens when you have geopathic stress. So I'm going to take the dowsing rods and I'm going to test the chair afterwards, and then I'll be able to show you the laser that I use when I come into somebody's house to treat their electromagnetic pollution and the geopathic stress to correct it in the home.
Terrific. So you've got all kinds of little rods there. Or,
Yeah,
I should
these are
say, ampules.
they're ampules
Yes.
or nosodes, and basically this is how I test on this machine. So if you put this in your right hand, so these here are just filters.
It's not a lie detector, folks.
No. So I have to find 100%. This is vitality on the machine
Okay.
before we start.
So you're applying this to his hand. His
Yeah, it's
fingers.
like the allergy points.
Okay.
Okay, so this measures resistance. Okay, so I have 100% on both sides. So what I want to do is I want to set it now to 40. So 40 is going to represent 100. Okay, once I have 40, then I can start testing ampules on it. The only ones we're going to test are geopathic stress.
That noise you hear in the background reminds me when somebody tries to wake me up in the morning.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at 40 now.
You're right. Okay.
So now I'm going to test radioactive stress. If it goes below 40, which means it's below 100,
Okay.
it won't go past 40. So that means this is present.
And what's that again, please?
This is radioactive stress, which this
Radioactive.
means he's radioactive.
Okay. Now that could be maybe from everyday contact with certain things, products, devices, things like that.
Geopathic stress.
Right.
It's just from geopathic
Okay.
stress.
Okay.
And this too, 30. So this is geopathic negative stress. He's going to have all 5 of these. This is geopathic negative force. Won't go anywhere.
How many are there?
Well, I have 8,000, but I'm only gonna.
Okay.
There's only 4 or 5 that I'm gonna test.
All right. Okay.
And this one won't even move or make any noise. Okay. So what I'll do, now that we know that you do have it, I'm gonna have you hold the Lotus Shield,
Okay.
which is right here. With the camera. Hold this in your hand, nice and tight.
Okay. Ping is going to hold that, and we'll see what happens here.
Okay, nice and tight. Under 1 minute, this will bring you back to normal frequency. I didn't bring my other machine, but I do have a radionics machine.
Okay.
And this is very important to use also because say we find autoimmune disorders and our doctors, which are homeopaths, write you a prescription and you start taking these remedies. this other machine that's hooked up to this, the radionics, which isn't here today, can actually measure your body's frequency. And also if we find autoimmune disorders, it can tell us what stage it's at. So if we give you homeopathic remedies,
Yes.
we can see if they're working.
Ah,
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
very interesting.
So I can tell you right now that with the radionics machine, if I tested your frequency, it would be around 10.3 hertz, which isn't normal. Normal level is around 7.5.
And how many people are actually qualified to test for this type of?
There's a lot of Vega test technicians.
But certainly no conventional medicine practitioners usually do
Not
this type
too
of
many people have them because they're very expensive machines and they're hard to find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, so if I take this from you now, and this in your right hand, and now I want to make sure that you're still at 40 before I test everything on you. So now you're still at 40. So now I'm going to test radioactive stress on you. If it goes past 40, then you don't have it. So you're not radioactive anymore.
That's good news, Pink. You're not radioactive.
Geopathic stress, 100%. You don't have it.
Okay.
Another geopathic stress. Past 40, you don't have it. And geopathic negative force. And you don't have that either. Now, if you stand up, I'll show you with the dowsing rods.
So how common is it to find someone with this geopathic stress?
1 in 5 has
Really?
geopathic stress. At
Really?
the health shows, I find a lot of people that have geopathic stress because these are people that are looking for alternative ways in wellness.
Yes.
Because nobody can help them, or they don't exactly know what it is that they have. So a lot of people that come to these health shows that I do, a lot of them have geopathic stress, and it's nice that somebody can actually give them an answer as to why. You know, why they're not feeling well, why their immune system isn't functioning.
Exactly.
And we can go really deep into the immune system and find out exactly what is it. Is it the endocrine system? Is it one of the
Right.
glands that's off? Sometimes you can go, say you go to the doctors and there's 5 problems. Okay, you got 5 problems and you want to go see the doctor, and the doctor's going to say, okay, hold on a second. Let's take care of 1 today, right? And it could be just a gland that's off, your hypothalamus gland,
Right.
the pineal gland. There's a problem with your gland, your endocrine system. As soon as we balance your endocrine system and all the glands, those 5 problems aren't there anymore. Just like food sensitivities. You know, it's just a problem with the gland.
Yes. And you can sometimes desensitize people to those food allergies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And another thing is, people who go to these shows, the health shows, they may be going there with an open mind, going to enjoy the aspects of natural health, and then they come across you and your specialty here.
That's all they need.
And then they're wow.
Yeah, that's all they need.
That's right, yes.
Because we can do it all.
That's great.
Yeah, so if I test you now with these rods, it's positive.
So it's going outward this time.
Outwards, yeah. And this is the way it should be. Okay? But because that 1 ampule that I tested you, it said radioactive stress, it means this chair now has it. So if I test this chair, the chair has it.
Okay, remind me not to sit there.
This is
Okay.
because you have, this is because he's radioactive. But I
Yes.
can correct that. I brought a little laser.
Okay, now you're going to use a laser.
Yeah, this is a
Okay.
small laser that I have that I use for like a house call. I can treat like lights, electromagnetic pollution,
Okay.
furniture. This is just a small one that I use. The one that I use for house calls is about 15,000 US, and it's not something that I like to take with me.
So you're using the laser. What's the technique called here?
Yeah, I'm just basically with this one, because it's just one little beam,
Yes.
I have to sort of color the surface with it. So if I test it after I use the laser,
So now you're going to test it with the rods.
so now it's good.
Now we have
It's not,
outward.
it's not
yes.
crossing anymore.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, the most important thing is the bed,
Right.
because this is where you're sleeping and you spend long periods of time in it, and the springs start to actually absorb this radiation.
So as for all this equipment we see here, where are these and where are all the products made?
Okay, well all the machines that I have, they're all from Germany,
Okay.
including the dowsing rods.
You're right.
They're more aware about geopathic stress than we are here in Canada. The ELFR eliminators, which I haven't shown yet.
So you have a
These are ELFR
extremely
eliminators.
low frequency?
Yeah, it's for
Yes.
extremely low frequency
Right.
radiation.
Yes.
So by applying these to, say, your cell phone, computer, microwave, hair dryer, any appliance that you use where you're in the electromagnetic field in order to operate it. So it's not necessary for a television unless you have children, because the children like to sit right in front of it. But you know, computer,
Yes.
cell phone, microwave, hair dryer, car. What this does, it produces an environment in which electro and magnetic fields cannot interfere with each other.
Can we hold that up for the...
Yeah, so they say there's products out there for EMF. You've heard of EMF,
Yes.
EMF protection.
Right.
Okay. Well, there's always going to be the electro and the magnetic field. Okay. And it's not the EMF that's dangerous, it's what it produces.
Yes.
When the electro and the magnetic field interfere with each other, it produces extremely low frequency radiation, and this is what we can pick up with these rods.
And a lot of household appliances, per se, emit low frequency radiation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so these rods again, these pick up weak electromagnetic influences.
Now, I had one of those eliminators on my cell phone at one time.
Mhm.
I don't know where it went, it must have fell off, but I could use another one of these days.
Yeah,
Yes.
no problem, after the show.
Okay.
So again, these pick up weak electromagnetic influences. So as I approach the computer, the rods cross. Okay,
Right.
but they stop. They don't keep going. Okay, this is the radiation and the computer's not even turned on.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have an eliminator on it, it's going to produce it's going to unscramble the electron and the magnetic field. So as I approach the computer, it's positive instead of negative. So
Yes.
what you can do, if you learn how to make these dowsing rods at home, you can start testing everything. And if you have the products, you can test before and after for yourself.
I think when I go home tonight, I'm going to make my own dowsing rods and just see what I can determine in terms of where I live. Why not? Yes, that's a good idea. Yes. So you have these products. What's the difference between the products that are made here and elsewhere?
The other products that are on the market, well, for instance, for the ELFR eliminators,
Yes.
there's no expiry. You know, I test a lot of different products at health shows, and you know, I can have the same product on two different cell phones, and I could test it on one and it works, and I test it on the other and it doesn't work.
Really?
So there's like shelf life. For my Lotus Shield, nobody on the market has anything close to it. What they do is they have different shields. They don't have shields that can actually remove the radiation from you. They just have something that they claim that will shield you. I've only seen one that works, but it's also dangerous at the same time.
Why is it dangerous?
Because they use quartz, and quartz, this is what they used to do. They used to use for, like most geomancers, they use quartz. But the problem with quartz is that as soon as quartz gets dirty, it magnifies the radiation. So I can test some of these shields, and yes, of course, it shows that it works. It's shielding. But then I can test the same shield, and it's got a dirty quartz, and this magnifies the radiation. So I'm correcting a lot of problems, a lot of geopathic stress that some other geomancers before me had corrected with quartz. And what they did was they put quartz in the ground. I have inserts that I use.
Okay.
This is what I use, and I put them in the ground.
Okay. It's called, yes.
It's a geopathic stress vortex insert. So I put these in the ground when I find these
It looks like a
vortexes.
little battery, doesn't
Like
it?
a battery, yeah,
Yes,
it looks
yeah.
like a battery.
Yeah.
And so there's no expiry. If this gets dirty, it's still going to work. With the quartz, what they did is they bury the quartz, and then they realize exactly what it did, because it ended up magnifying the geopathic stress after a few years.
Okay.
So then I heard some other geomancers, they say, yeah, we use quartz, but now we're putting quartz in water in a jar, and then we put it in the ground. But believe it or not, it still gets dirty and gets magnified.
Really? In a jar?
In a jar with water in it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So how do any number of people out there who are very interested in this very scientific field of the eradication of the radiation, that type of thing, how do they order these products?
Well, you can go to my website,
Okay.
which is www.gseradicator.com, and or they can call the company.
What's the number there?
416 Toronto 399-0634.
Okay, that's great. And you know, you were talking about detecting a lot of these illnesses. What type of illnesses can be detected through the use of?
Oh, with the Vega test?
Yes,
everything.
Vega test, yeah.
Everything. Virus, bacteria, fungus, parasites,
Amazing.
autoimmune disorders, deficiencies, psychological conditions, pretty much everything. It's pretty detailed.
So, you in effect, you desensitize people from these difficulties that they have.
No, we just build their immune system. We
Exactly.
strengthen their immune system,
Okay.
balance their glands.
Which kind of desensitizing because you're building a healthier person. You're building their immune system, right?
Well, they're building it themselves. We're just helping them.
Okay.
You know, we're strengthening their immune system so they're able to fight off, you know, common viruses and bacteria, because your body should be strong enough to fight most common bacteria and viruses.
So, would you say because of that, a lot of your clients might be in suppressed immune conditions, perhaps, and they want an alternative health regime, or do you think maybe they may be trying to ward off the potential dangers of flu season? I think could that be a possibility?
Well, most people that I deal with, they know they have geopathic stress,
Okay.
and they do some research. I don't go to someone's house until
Okay.
until they educate
So
themselves
they have
on
to have
it.
some idea.
They have to know.
Okay.
They have to know about it, because then they appreciate exactly what it is that I'm doing for them. I can show them before and after exactly what I'm doing for them, and you know the results speak for themselves. And this is why I'm very busy, because I get referrals from homeopaths, naturopaths, past clients.
Really?
Oh yeah. What they do is, like, most of the homeopaths and naturopaths that I know that are in the city of Toronto, they test their patients for geopathic stress. And if they find geopathic stress, they don't deal with them right away. They send them to me. Because the problem is, if you have geopathic stress, your immune system doesn't respond to medicine.
It would fall outside the scope of that boundary to another area. Yes.
They all these doctors, they want to have good results with their patients. So they're not going to lie to them and say, yeah, we can help you with all these herbs and you know, homeopathic remedies. But the problem is, if they have geopathic stress, their immune system doesn't respond to medicine. And the other scary thing is, if somebody would say prescribe homeopathic remedies and say and they say, okay, take these remedies and this will make you feel better. Well, if they have geopathic stress and they store this medicine in the geopathic stress zone, say on a vortex per se, it picks up the same vibrations as the geopathic stress. Therefore, it's contaminated and it's poison. It's just going to weaken your immune system instead of strengthening it. Yeah, it's not a good idea. So that's why it's very important. If they do have geopathic stress, we correct the problem for them, and then their body starts to replenish itself naturally, and with the help of homeopaths, naturopaths.
Well, that explains how they refer to you and how you would be more able to help them in this situation, and why you're referred by the homeopaths.
For
Of
sure.
course, yes. So, how does a person contact you through your services to eradicate these troubles? In their house, per se, at home, when they have these concerns?
Yeah, well, what they should do is just go to the website, go to Contact Us,
Okay.
and I try to personally reply to every email. It might take, you know, a few weeks, but I do make sure that I reply to all of them.
So, it may seem like a silly question, because people like to get advice on the phone a lot. People like to get advice on the phone, and they may call and say, well, can you help me with this problem? But is it easy for a person to do that? Like, do you have to go over to their house to test, or can you give them some bit of information on the phone?
Yeah, they can tell me a little bit about their symptoms, and then I can see if it sort of makes sense that maybe they do have geopathic stress by me posing a few questions to them. But the best way would be they can send me their hair sample, and I can test just for, say, geopathic stress.
Interesting. And
because if they do have geopathic stress, it's in the house. It's in the house for sure.
It has to be coming from somewhere.
It's coming from somewhere, and if it's not from the home that they're living in today, presently, it could be where they grew up or where they lived 5 years ago. It would still be in their body, and then it would still be all over the furniture because they become radioactive and they start spreading it through the home.
And as somebody very heavily involved in health and safety in my other fields, I was just wondering, how often do your clients refer to health and safety problems at work, or do they refer to these conditions that you hear of that may cause problems at work or at home or something like that?
Well, a lot of people are worried about, you know, say their job, if they're on the computer all the time.
Right.
They're sensitive to electronics, you know, they're bothered when they're on the computer. Those are people that will contact.
Okay. And you're a geomancer.
That's right.
How many are there, do you know?
Oh, I don't know. In Toronto, I don't think there's very many. I would say maybe a dozen or so.
Yeah, I'm not aware of too many.
No.
I mean, just a few I've heard of, yes.
Yeah.
So it's a very specialized area of alternative medicine.
Yeah, you have to be
Natural health.
very, very sensitive.
Yes. So tell me about a few, it's an interesting It's very interesting going through all these and the dosing and the rods and everything, and the Vega testing. But how many cases have you had? And tell me a few, just to give the audience an idea, or the viewers an idea, what these entailed and what the end result was. If you could give us a few examples.
Okay, sure. I've had hundreds of cases. There was this one lady, she experienced headaches all the time for 15 years.
It's a long time.
And, you know, she had the money to go see all the specialists, travel the world to find help, and nobody could help her. And until I showed up. And I went to, she told me what she did, and she was basically taking care of her husband's mechanic shop. So she was like the secretary, and she did all a little bit of errands. But she was in this small room, say 10 by 10 room. She had computers, she had fax machines, she had refrigerators, she was bombarded by all these foreign frequencies.
Yeah.
And she was wondering why, you know, she was getting headaches all the time. She was sensitive to all these electronics. So what I did is, her husband he was fixing my car. And so what I did is I treated the office, and then she showed up, and I had no idea. I just figured, you know, he's fixing my car, he's a friend of a friend's, so he's doing it for free. I'll help him out. He didn't exactly realize what it was that I was doing. But anyway, his wife came, and she just came from an appointment, and I told her exactly what it is I just did, and she was shocked. She was actually relieved as well, because she had an answer as to why she was feeling the way she did.
So she immediately felt better.
Yeah, and she said, you know, I think God sent you, because she was desperate.
So this was
she hasn't had a headache since.
It was a specialized eradication project at the office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Or say geopathic stress can affect your ability to reproduce. So I went to this one client's house, and they had 3 children. But ever since they moved to their new home, which is a beautiful home, they weren't able to have another child. So he started getting depressed, thinking maybe it's me. And his wife started thinking maybe it's me. So when I explained to them exactly that geopathic stress can cause, you know, inability to reproduce, I treated the house. 3 months later, they had a baby girl.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's terrific. So that involves the aspect of the environment being polluted and your handling of that situation in order to help their family. And what happened there was they were having some birth problems, probably related to the sick building syndrome wherever they were. And that's an amazing story.
Mm-hmm. Or say I had a cat following me around the house. Cats are very sensitive, and they actually like geopathic stress zones.
Why?
I don't understand why it is.
Okay.
But they do. So if you have a cat that's in your bed, then chances are you have geopathic stress, because they'll go into the house where it has the highest radiation in the house. That's the area they'll go. Like,
so do they get contaminated?
They get sick as well.
Right. Yes,
yeah, but they still like it. You know,
yeah.
Bees, owls, slugs, ants.
Wow.
They look for these geopathic stress zones. But anyway, this one cat saw what we were doing, and he started following me around the house as I'm lasering everything.
So he could sense that.
He could sense it. He was overweight. He was easily 10 pounds overweight. He was huge.
Animals are very receptive to stresses.
Mm-hmm. So what he was doing, he was following me around the house and meowing, talking to me, until I took the laser and I treated him with the laser.
Really?
He was quiet and he left. Yeah, it's amazing. Or say a dog. We had a dog that would sit in front of the television, and his nose would be right at the line of how far out the electromagnetic field would span. So say about 3 or 4 feet away from the television, his nose would be right at the line. And if I test with the dowsing rods exactly where the rods would cross, this is the exact same line where his nose would be. So he wouldn't go past this line, because he could sense it or see it.
So like
and then as soon as I treated the large television with the laser, he started freaking out. He was reacting, like, because he didn't understand how it just left.
So before we go, I have a quick question. Have you followed up with any of your clients to see?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What I do is after a year of the eradication, what I do is I call and I try to arrange to have like a retest. They send me their hair. They give me their hair. I test it again, and then they send me a testimonial as well, telling me, you know, how I changed their life.
Terrific. The website again?
www.gseradicator.com.
Okay. Thank you, Alan, for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Alan is just an amazing guy to talk to, an interesting practitioner, and he is going to be at the Holistic World Expo.
Yep, that one, and
March 17th.
The Total Health Show at the exhibition as well.
Right, so you do both shows, and just an amazing natural health field dealing with the eradication and detection of electromagnetic and the stress that occurs to people throughout their daily lives, and a lot of interesting things you brought with a lot of tools, a lot of scientific concepts from a natural health perspective, and we enjoyed talking to you today, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes another episode of Randy's Wellness TV. Stay tuned, because every week it just gets better and better. We have lots of interesting natural health disciplines and products and wonderful natural things for you to explore. And let's make this an educational program where we can help each other and learn from it too. Our guests are wonderful, and that's what sharing the word of natural health is all about there. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm Randy Rowett, and we'll see you again on Randy's Wellness TV. Bye for now.